First of all, as a comparison, you can see that when driving on a normal road, the steering wheel does not shake from side to side. You can see that when driving on dirt or sand, the steering wheel twists violently from side to side. We can observe that when the speed is below 3 km per hour, the steering wheel's twisting frequency is very low, but once it exceeds 4 km per hour, the frequency noticeably increases. When we slow down the video for observation, we can see that when the car is driving on dirt or grass, Assetto Corsa's force feedback causes the steering wheel to first turn counterclockwise, then rebound clockwise, and repeat this cycle continuously. In the real world, when driving on dirt or grass, the steering wheel obviously cannot produce such high-frequency cyclic movements. So why does Assetto Corsa generate such unrealistic force feedback? In Assetto Corsa, the road surface is simply categorized into normal roads and off-road surfaces such as grass or dirt. Once a tire goes over dirt, the system sends a command to the steering wheel, making it turn left first, then right, and continuously repeat this motion. This is meant to simulate the vibrations caused by an uneven surface. Clearly, this is a form of scripted physics rather than real-time physical calculation, since it does not take road geometry into account. In reality, the only factor that should influence force feedback is the actual geometry of the road surface, but Assetto Corsa completely ignores this. The material of the road surface hardly affects the steering wheel's movement, and you can test this with your own car. To prove that Assetto Corsa indeed uses scripted physics, we conducted an experiment with the tires on each side separately. First, when the car's left side goes onto the dirt, we can see that the steering wheel still turns left first and then right. Slowing down the video again for observation, you can see the steering wheel first turning to the left, then suddenly rebounding to the right, and repeating this cycle continuously. This shows that in Assetto Corsa, whether all the tires are on dirt or only one side is on dirt, the force feedback on the steering wheel remains exactly the same. This clearly indicates that Assetto Corsa uses scripted physics to simulate force feedback, rather than relying on a real-time calculated physics model. If that still doesn't convince you, we performed a more rigorous test with the right side tires. You can see that even when only the right tires go onto the dirt, Assetto Corsa's force feedback still causes the steering wheel to first turn left and then right, repeating the cycle, exactly the same as when the left side went onto the dirt earlier. This once again confirms that Assetto Corsa uses scripted physics rather than a real-time physics engine based on road geometry. Otherwise, how could the response be exactly the same whether the left or right side goes onto dirt? This proves that Assetto Corsa is by no means a hardcore simulator, it's at best a semi-simulated simcade. Now let's test the immediate reaction when the left front wheel goes onto dirt. Once again, you can see that because scripted physics is used, the system sends a signal to the steering wheel to first turn left and then right, so the force feedback is exactly the same as before. Conversely, when the right front wheel goes onto dirt, logically the steering wheel should respond differently. However, once again, the steering wheel turns left first, then right, exactly the same as before. This further proves that Assetto Corsa's force feedback relies on scripted physics, completely ignoring the physics of individual tires and the geometry of the road, resulting in extremely unrealistic behavior. This time, we switched to testing on grass. Similarly, you can see that even when the surface is changed to grass, Assetto Corsa's force feedback remains completely unchanged. It still turns left first, then suddenly rebounds to the right, repeating the cycle. Once again, this proves that Assetto Corsa uses scripted physics to fake road vibrations, resulting in extremely unrealistic steering wheel behavior. Assetto Corsa's scripted physics completely ignore the geometry of the road. As soon as you go onto grass or dirt, the steering wheel automatically turns left first, then suddenly rebounds to the right, repeating this cycle, extremely unrealistic. Some extreme Assetto Corsa fanboys might object and ask, why don't you criticize Gran Turismo 7? To silence them, let's test GT7. You can see that when a GT7 car goes onto grass, the steering wheel does not exhibit periodic shaking. Instead, it moves slightly, following the undulations of the road surface. This proves that GT7, unlike Assetto Corsa, does not use scripted physics, it relies on a true real-time physics engine. Let's test the other side. You can see that whether the right or left side goes onto the grass, GT7 does not produce unrealistic periodic oscillations. This confirms that GT7 uses a genuine real-time physics engine, making it far more hardcore than Assetto Corsa. What about on dirt? You can see that when a GT7 car goes onto dirt, the steering wheel does not exhibit periodic shaking. Instead, it moves slightly, following the undulations of the road surface. This once again proves that GT7, unlike Assetto Corsa, does not use scripted physics but a true real-time physics engine. Once again, let's test the other side. You can see that whether the right or left side goes onto dirt, GT7 does not produce unrealistic periodic oscillations. This confirms that GT7 uses a genuine real-time physics engine, making it far more hardcore than Assetto Corsa. Finally, we can see that because GT7's force feedback is influenced solely by the road geometry, when the left tires go onto dirt, the steering wheel turns to the right, and vice versa, when the right tires go onto dirt, the steering wheel turns to the left. In contrast, in Assetto Corsa, the steering wheel always turns left regardless of which side goes onto dirt. This clearly shows that GT7 is a truly hardcore simulator, while Assetto Corsa relies on scripted physics to produce fake force feedback. Ironically, those Assetto Corsa fans who claim to be hardcore sim players often look down on GT7 and even slander it as a scripted physics simcade. In reality, the one using scripted physics is Assetto Corsa, while GT7 truly deserves the title of a real simulator, as its subtitle proclaims, the real driving simulator. Meanwhile, Assetto Corsa shamelessly steals GT7's car models to create mods, truly disgraceful.